Alright, so our reactionary right-wing Supreme Court is continuing to make decisions, just spiraling us into the abyss right now, this time specifically surrounding your Fourth Amendment constitutional protections against unlawful search and seizure relating to Border Patrol agents in this specific case. So I wanted to get into some of the details here because this, along with many other rulings that we have seen recently, are setting just some of the most ridiculous precedents that you could possibly imagine. But let's go ahead and get into some of the details here with a great breakdown from Julia Conley of Common Dreams. She says, quote, "Endangers us all. Supreme Court ruling shields border agent from excessive force lawsuits." So what are they talking about here? They say a ruling by the right-wing majority on the U.S. Supreme Court on Wednesday will have far-reaching consequences for people who accuse federal agents of violating their constitutional rights, the ACLU warned after the court ruled against a man who wanted to sue a U.S. Border Patrol agent who entered his property without a warrant and used excessive force. And she says the court ruled 6-3 along partisan lines in Egbert versus Boole, that Congress must decide whether the plaintiff can sue the government over the alleged violation of his rights, a decision which Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote in her dissenting opinion threatens to block nearly all civil suits against federal agents. And they say, quote, "The court's decision today ignores our repeated recognition of the importance of Bivens' actions, particularly in the Fourth Amendment search and seizure context, and closes the door to Bivens." This Bivens lawsuit is one that they're going to touch on further down in this piece here, but they say closes the door to the Bivens suits by many who will suffer serious constitutional violations at the hands of federal agents. Sotomayor wrote, referring to Bivens v. 6 unknown named agents of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, the 1971 ruling in which the court found federal agents can be sued in some cases even if Congress has not explicitly authorized the challenge. And they say Wednesday's ruling pertained to a case stemming from Washington state innkeeper Robert Boole's attempt to sue border agent Eric Egbert. And in 2014, Egbert entered Boole's property without a warrant to investigate a guest from Turkey, and Boole accused the agent of pushing him to the ground and later retaliating when Boole reported the incident to Egbert's supervisors. And they say journalist Mark Joseph Stern of Slate said the court's conservative majority knows legislation that would allow an individual to sue federal agents for constitutional rights violations is unlikely and really impossible, and is thus effectively slamming the door on accountability for federal law enforcement. And they continue down here saying the court did not overrule Bivens, but further restricted people's ability to seek redress when they accuse federal agents of violating their rights. And in 2020, the court ruled that the family of a Mexican teenager fatally shot by a Border Patrol agent could not sue over their child's killing. And in 2017, it ruled that government officials are not liable for the alleged mistreatment of non-citizens who are detained by the United States. I mean, who the fuck else would be responsible for these types of actions other than government officials who are making these decisions and setting these policies? But they continue saying Justice Neil Gorsuch suggested in his opinion that while Bivens has not been overruled, future claims against federal agents may not be viable. So, I mean, he's saying it explicitly right there. You understand exactly what type of precedent this is setting. It is making it basically as difficult as possible, if not outright impossible, for average Americans who just so happen to live within the 100-mile radius that Border Patrol has their authority in, which, by the way, makes up like a majority of the American people. I think it's roughly 2/3 of the American people live within this bright orange strip here around the border of the United States. If you happen to live within this area, you basically just effectively lost your Fourth Amendment protections against unlawful or unreasonable search and seizure by federal agents of the state to not only, enter your property, as was the case in the specific case that we're talking about here, not only enter your property, but physically assault you, and again, just violate your constitutional rights left and right without basically any ability to have legal recourse to hold them accountable or to get justice in any of these cases. So listen, I mean, this is just a long string of rulings that we have seen recently with the ruling on Roe v. Wade that's going to be coming in the next couple of months. You have this ruling. You also have that ruling that basically eviscerated the ability for the SEC to enforce their standards and guidelines, which also is something that I might touch on in a different video because that's also monumentally important. But the fact of the matter remains, the Supreme Court here in the United States is not some independent institution that's purely interpreting our Constitution and just trying to do right by average Americans. It is a inherently right-wing institution, especially given its makeup right now. You have a plurality, if not a majority, of these justices who were appointed by Republican presidents who didn't win the popular vote. They're put in here for explicitly political reasons. You have all of the Trump-appointed justices that were literally suggested by one single right-wing think tank. They gave him a list and he chose from that list, specifically, again, for political reasons, like relating to Roe v. Wade, but also relating to things like complete deregulation, undercutting any federal agencies that are tasked with responsibilities to oversee corporations in this country, like the SEC, the EPA for environmental regulations, the FEC, any of these other government institutions that are supposed to put a check on the capitalist private sector are basically being eviscerated, along with, oh, by the way, your Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure. So again, doesn't need to be stated, but really this is just a continuation of this right-wing takeover of our court system here in the United States, and these are the exact results that we can expect to continue getting from this right-wing Supreme Court, and it just doesn't seem like there's any end on the horizon or any, democratic or even mildly left-wing pushback against these brazen, unconstitutional things that are being determined by the Supreme Court on our behalf. A completely unelected board of justices that are making decisions that are going to be massively influential in our day-to-day lives. And it seems like these types of stories are ones that are getting damn near no coverage whatsoever on mainstream media. So it makes it that much more important for us to understand exactly what is going on, what the Supreme Court is doing right now, because this is the, not even slippery slope, but the full-on spiral into the abyss of fascism.